I'm Mary Mannix, and I have been involved with the farm since probably 1990. I lived in the area. So 34 years ago, in 1990, I moved to a neighboring town, and I just have farms in my blood because I grew up on my grandparents' farm. And in my little town in Connecticut, there were 4 dairy farms right in the town. And then my grandparents had animals and produce and fruits and produce, fruits, and flowers on their farm. So it was really all inclusive, right next door, right down the path. So it was, I just have it in my blood. So as soon as I got to town in 1990, I had my little girls in the car, and we were searching things around and learning about the area, and we drove right in here. I think my first experience was stopping at the roadside stand on Route 16. So it was still done there. It was manned by the young students, teen work crew, or whatever they were called way back in the 90s. And so I stopped there with my children in the car, and then I talked to them and said, can we go up and see the farm? And they're like, fine. Very welcoming, just a really good feeling talking to those young people. And that was the start. It's been a lot of years, but I've always been a volunteer. So I've never been staff. And I started when my youngest was in school, in kindergarten. I began picking in the greenhouses in the off season, outside of the summer season. And so I did that. And then I was asked to join the board. And so I was really on the board until I had moved out of the area. So it was, too far of a commute, so I had to step off the board at the end of 2023, and so that began the whole series of being actually, I will be a lifelong volunteer. Won't be as consistent, but it'll happen. I would say, thankfully, there's a lot that's similar. The Linda and Casey, the 2 executive directors, have been very careful to live to the mission and to stick to the mission and the vision. So I think that's so important, because farming is farming. The differences are the technology, which is fine. The technology, I mean, when I came to town, no one had a laptop. They weren't invented yet. So, that's the difference. The technology in the admin has stepped up, as well as in the farming angle too. Very important, very important. What you have with an organic farm is very much, as it should be, keeping up with technology and farming, but still being able to do everything through natural processes. So that's the amazing thing about it. Certainly the people. They have been able to translate the energy from the earth of this place, these 30 acres here. They've been able to translate that to the people who come and visit. I mean, that was the first thing I noticed when I came on. Was I knew the energy was good. I could tell that right off. But just bumping into Linda for the very first time, and how welcoming she was and all, it's just a very special place, and it's because of the people. I think actually that the value of the farm, I mean, amazing people beget amazing people. I think in a way, that's how, contrary to the saying, opposites attract, I think that's how like-minded people attract, that they have good things in their mind. They want to leave the world a better place than they found it. And I think this farm is going to circle round to square one, whereas the community will realize the value of this farm and its piece in teaching their children about, from the little things of connecting to the earth and the new word now is grounding, but to really feel the essence of the importance of the dirt under their feet, as the expression goes, but also all the way up to how this farm can impact what's going on in the world, the climate change, because we're not going to get out of that big problem without proper land management. And we are practicing that here. And I think that's so important. And I think that the community, through the education that happens here, are going to pick up on that. There's a really lot of smart people in this world and around here, of course. So, in my view, farmers are some of the smartest people, because they've got to go from soup to nuts, from picking a seed to making sure a perishable product is properly gotten to market and gotten to the final end point. So stick around with farmers and people will go a long way. I guess one of the biggest lessons that the farm can give is that we are educating as to where your food comes from, which very few people know about, and how food is medicine. And if we can, if people can kind of pick up on that, it'll move us in a better direction. And I know they're on the tip of that, and it's happening right before their eyes. But hopefully it'll really start hitting home, and then word gets out. And it's not just for this farm, but for other farms that are regeneratively farming. And Natick Farm's always been on the cutting edge, so that's a huge difference here. And have been able to, with the help of the wonderful people who support this farm, they've been able to stay on the cutting edge and learn it, and then we can go teach that as well to others. Well, I have to go with the brain first. I come from a financial background. So coming to a farm, the brain, what I've learned here is, on the brain side, is I've learned more about municipal government, and I've learned about running a nonprofit. So that's the brain side. The heart side is, oh my gosh, how much contributions each person can make to this farm. And coming from, especially from a financial background, where there's a lot of similarities between the people that work in that sector, there are so many different people here that work at this farm, and the gifts they bring to this farm, from taking the programs from the parents of the kids, from the teen work crew, everything they bring to it is such a gift. And it's just such a positive experience. Well, I think the big thing for me was, through my years, except for the picking in the greenhouses in the very beginning, was I was a paper pusher. And I was like, I wish I could be in the dirt out there, and I thought to myself, what's really good? Being a paper pusher, though, it gave me, and on the board, it gave me the value of getting the big picture, which that's what I really hope doesn't change, that big picture and that mission and that vision, which started with the first executive director, Linda, who really shaped where this farm was headed. The second thing of what I loved in the day-to-day, I think I have to say my favorite thing was the farm lunches. And it wasn't in how I took part in the farm lunches. It was, and what I said, the best part was just listening, because then I would learn about all the backgrounds of all the teen crew and the staff and everybody, and it was just so cool. It was just so valuable. And then I could be a better board member, because I could hear what was going on. I think what Natick Farm does is it gets us back to basics. And I think that's hard in such a fast-moving world. But the best thing we can do for this next generation is bring them back to the soil. That is the best thing we can do. And again, it's, when will the community truly understand that value? I think many have. I think many have in the town of Natick. I'm so impressed that the town has been so supportive to us. I think they get it. And it's not in any municipal law anywhere, I can tell you, because they really don't know about farms, but they get it. So I really enjoyed working with the officials in the town. And I think that it's going to come full circle, and it's all good. It's really good. The big thing with the farm that I want to add is I've been truly, truly overwhelmed by the two people who have run this farm so far, which is Linda Simpkins, and she really built this place. So, and stuck to that mission and stuck to that vision. And then to have Casey step in and understand it so well, he is just the perfect person to be number one, and number two, following Linda. I think we are so lucky because those two people have brought in such an amazing staff. And having been for a very long time in this field, years and years and years, and I'm really old, so I have the wisdom of my years. It's the staff and the people who have run them and attracted those people that make such a huge difference on this farm. So that's just so amazing to me. Just a pleasure to be a part of it. I go two ways on this, because in some ways I don't want it to change, because I think this generation really has lost contact with the earth, and so they really need to come back to it, and they'll be luckier and they'll be smarter and wiser for that. So that's the thing. In two ways, don't change, but stay current, and they will. These are really smart people. They're not going to build a building with a hammer and a handsaw. They will use electric saws and nail guns, because they'll use that technology to get the job quickly and efficiently. So in some ways, stay the same, but stay current, and they will. They will. I have no doubts about what's going on at this farm, and I've been hanging around since 1990. I'm not old though.